Joining me now is former Arkansas governor and former presidential candidate Mike Huckabee. Governor Huckabee, good morning to you. Always great to see you. Look, so many people say, I don't care what President Biden is saying. There is no way he's going to run again in 2024. And it looks like the competition is heating up. People are already trying to prime their positions.
They really are, Jackie, and these numbers are absolutely dismal. You know, sometimes in politics you get some bad numbers or maybe discouraging numbers. These are like being given a life vest made out of sheer concrete. I mean, he's sinking to the bottom. And the first question you have is, who are the 38% that saying Joe's doing a great job? I mean, these are the people that can't read, that don't keep up with anything that's going on in the world, who might live somewhere in a cave. Because most people who look around see the economy, they recognize what a mess we're in, and you know, Joe can try all he wants, but he can't escape responsibility for a big portion of this. I
think you're right, and partially probably included in that 38% are your extreme far left that look, for example, at his energy policy and his green energy policy agenda and are happy about that. So people have different priorities, right? But most of the country right now suffering as a result of high gas prices, high food prices, inflation, and really no one's in sight, at least for the near term right now. But it's so interesting because if he were not to run in 2024, you know, you've got Kamala Harris, who had such a huge opportunity here and essentially just squandered it as vice president. And Gavin Newsom has run amok in his state. So I'm not really sure that the options on the Democrat side really make a lot of sense here.
Well, they don't. Interestingly, Kamala Harris lost her speechwriter this past week. And quite frankly, watching some of her speeches in which she talked in circles, one had to wonder, you mean she had a speechwriter? Somebody was actually writing that stuff and putting it in front of her, and then she had the audacity to speak that? Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense that the speechwriter left, but clearly Kamala Harris had a real problem in just reading what was in front of her. So that's not going to be a big improvement over Joe Biden. The president has the same problem, too, though. So they're on the same page there, right?
Well,
absolutely. I mean, I think what we've got to look at is that when you ask people about the economy, only 18% of the American people think it's in good shape. Now, that includes a lot of Democrats. 82% of the people say the economy is in the tank.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just can't overcome those numbers, and the economy is always the #1 thing that American families think about when they go to vote.
Yeah, the inflation, 9.1% year over year. That number only continues to rise. And the White House explains it away by saying it's backward looking. But people have been feeling that. They've been paying for that. That's coming out of their budget for the year. And it's going to be a while before it drops, Governor. We do know that. I want to transition, though, and switch gears for a moment while I have you, because Stephen Colbert's staff, now in the clear, charges of unlawful entry in a House office building were dropped yesterday. They originally went in saying that they were recording a comedy skit. Fox News reporting Capitol Police are upset about the decision, with sources saying that it undercuts law enforcement trying to secure the complex after January 6th. And I think a lot of people would agree with that, right? Unlawful entry into the building, not allowed. Doesn't matter what reason you were doing it for. Why are there double standards here?
It's what Americans are really angry about, and particularly the half of America that seems to be on the receiving end of the switch and the sticks and the belts and all the other things that the government is throwing at us. I mean, there's a real sense of outrage that because these people are on the left and they work for Stephen Colbert, even though they were told not once but several times to leave the Capitol, then they were allowed back in by a congressional staffer. So there are two big questions. Number one, how come they didn't get arrested? Why were they not put on the no-fly list? How come they didn't go to jail and sit there for 16 months in a D.C. jail awaiting some type of hearing like some of the January 6th protesters did, some of whom, Jackie, they weren't even in the Capitol. They never entered the building on January the 6th.
Right.
And yet they still got charged. Their lives were ruined. But here's the other question. Are you telling me that not a single congressional staffer got fired for letting them in?
Exactly, for the access, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when people say, if you speak up at a school board meeting, you're a domestic terrorist. But if you're a liberal, you can go to the Capitol, you can be there unlawfully, unescorted, you can be told to leave, you don't, you stay around, and nothing happens to you. That's not really a good look for the Democrats and for the far left. And I think it only bodes well that a lot of people, I hope they will, be utterly fed up with this double standard of justice and send these guys packing in November.
Yeah, so many double standards. We were talking earlier about Speaker Pelosi, her husband Paul, making some pretty hefty trades, betting on semiconductors and chip stocks ahead of the vote on legislation that would change what we're doing here in the United States with semiconductors. And so many people say it might be legal, but it's not ethical. Governor Mike Huckabee, great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jackie.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens, stories that are changing the world and changing your life. From Tucker Carlson tonight.